Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have been kind of embarrassed, to be honest with you, to pop the hood of this car. People are always telling me to pop the hood and stuff, and I'm just like, it's not ready yet, you know, whatever. And let me show you the reason why. Now, it's not just because I have a GE engine. Lots of people have GE engines. NA Supras are super common, so that's nothing to be ashamed of or anything. Let me show you closer up. If we look over here on this side, you can see that it has an aftermarket exhaust manifold or header, whatever you want to call it, and it honestly just looks like garbage. I know it's kind of dark, so it's hard to see. Let me get a flashlight out real quick. But this thing is super rusted. You can see that it was, I think, painted blue at some point, and the paint has come off in a lot of spots and also faded, and it's just super rusty. So it just looks really bad. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna pull off the airbox, pull out the header, which is gonna be my first time ever doing it, and we're gonna try and repaint it with some high temperature exhaust header paint. Let me show that to you. Here's the paint that I purchased at AutoZone, so you can see flame-proof VHT high temperature header paint right there, 1300 degrees to 2000 degrees. This is going to be plenty for what we are going to use it for. And this is like a silvery color, so I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but we're going to give it a try. And then we're also going to make sure that we cure it properly so it lasts a long time, and we will read the instructions on the back of this can to make sure we do that. You might be asking yourself, why don't I just buy a new one and replace it instead of trying to restore this one, which is really bad and rusty, whatever. Well, the reason is because if you look on pretty much every website that sells an aftermarket header for a 2JZ GE, they say in the fine print that they don't fit right-hand drive cars. Now, I've looked up as to why that is. I've read on the forums and everything, and everyone says it's because it could possibly interfere with the steering column. So on a right-hand drive car, the steering column is over here. On a left-hand drive, it's over there. So on a left-hand drive, this area has a lot more room, and another couple people online said that they might actually fit, but those companies are just playing it safe and saying that they don't fit just to cover themselves. If you look down here, this one clearly does clear the steering column. This is the area where I would be concerned of it not clearing, but there's like a 3/4 of an inch gap there, so this one clears just fine. So we're gonna pull this one out. I'll take some pictures of it while it's out so I can see exactly what the shape of it looks like and everything, and see if I can find one online that looks similar with the O2 sensors and kind of the same area going at the same angle. And maybe we'll get one of those in the future and do an experiment on YouTube to see if it fits. Hopefully that will help some other people. Got the car up on jack stands, and the first thing I'm gonna do is take off the stock airbox. So let's get to it.
Taking off the stock airbox is pretty easy. You just loosen those clamps with a drill, and then you can remove each piece of the hose, and then the airbox itself is held in with just a couple of screws.
Look how dirty it is under here. Wow, I'll be taking this opportunity to clean that, and also, first time ever removing that whole box. I didn't realize how easy it was. I'm definitely doing that from now on when I reinstall headlights, because it makes it so much easier. All right, I think we can get it out without taking off anything else. This one right here is pretty tough to get off for some reason. I'll try and leave that on for now, but it might have to come off because it might barely get in the way. Now that we have a lot of room, you can see how dirty these studs and nuts are. Check that out. They're so rusted and just really gross looking. So because of that, we are gonna be installing a brand new set of titanium studs, nuts, and washers for the exhaust manifold. These are from Speed Factory Racing. They were about $180, so titanium parts are very expensive, but I went with the kind of burnt look, which is really cool. And I know you won't really be able to see these that well, but I just couldn't bring myself to keeping those studs and nuts. They're so awful looking. Okay, so I have removed the two bolts that attach the header to the exhaust, and I've gone ahead and cracked all of the nuts here loose just a little with the breaker bar, and now we can go ahead and use the impact gun to get those off.
Removing the nuts that hold on the exhaust manifold is kind of a pain just because of different things that get in the way. Just make sure you have a few different extensions ready to go.
Okay, that should be all of the nuts holding it on. I'm gonna see if I can pull it out a little, see if it just comes loose easily. But at some point I am gonna have to disconnect those two O2 sensors. So let's see if this will come off. Yeah, it's feeling like it's gonna come off pretty easy. Okay, so it's completely off. I'm gonna jump underneath the car again and just make sure that it's completely disconnected from the exhaust. All right, what I've decided I'm gonna do, instead of disconnecting the O2 sensors from down there, I'm just gonna unplug them and then I can deal with it later. Once it's off the car, it'll be a lot easier. There's a couple zip ties holding down the line here. Okay, let's see if I can maneuver it out of here. Yeah, distributor has to come off, at least for this one.
Removing the distributor definitely takes a lot more thought than other parts. You want to make sure that all of the spark plug wires are labeled so you know where they go when you put it back together. There's also a screw that needs to be marked so you know exactly where to line it up when you put it back together. If you don't have it lined up properly, you could lose your timing. I recommend watching a video online if you've never done it before.
I'm working on taking out all of the studs, and I've taken all of them out except for one, just so I can show you guys. So here's what the OEM studs look like, and as you can see, they're pretty gross looking. They actually do have a little bit on the end that you can use to remove it. Sometimes you have to use the like two nut method, where you put a nut on backwards and you put another on the right way and tighten it down real tight, and then you can back it out with that. But for this one, I just used a 6mm socket, came right out. So I can show you here on this last one. And there's the last one. You can also see that they have a little stopper about 2/3 of the way down. So that tells you when it gets to the bottom. So you can't go any farther than that, which is pretty helpful. And just so you guys can see the difference between the OEM studs and the titanium ones, check that out. These look so good. These things are just nasty, crappy looking. Look at the nut. These have like the washer attached to them. The titanium ones are like a separate piece, but look how sick these look. Definitely worth the money. They're pretty expensive, but I think it's going to make a huge difference. The new studs actually allow you to use a 4mm Allen wrench on the end to screw them in, so that's helpful. Already put 2 in, let's go ahead and put the rest in.
Installing the new studs with the Allen wrench is pretty easy. It's just a little time consuming. When you tighten them down, there's a stopper that doesn't allow you to go any further. Once you get to there, just make sure you tighten them up, but not too tight. And then the nuts and washers, we will torque those down to spec.
And here's a closer look at what the headers look like. As you can see, they're pretty rough. So this is the part that you could see
up top, but then when you pull them out, you can see that it's even worse down here at the bottom. So I tried sanding some of this off. I tried using a wire wheel just on a cordless drill, and it just was not powerful enough. So I'm gonna take it over to my dad's. He's got a grinder, and we're gonna try and use a wire wheel on his grinder, see if that helps.
Now, this is by far the most time-consuming part of this restoration process. Make sure you have a lot of patience when you get to this step.
Okay, it is finally time to start painting this thing. So I've got everything taped off that I don't want paint to get into. And what I need to do first is wipe it down with some degreaser, make sure it's all nice and clean. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit it with the primer and then the paint. Now, one problem I'm running into is that really the best way to paint this thing would be to hang it from the ceiling or hang it from something so I can paint all around it. I really don't have anything to do that with. So unfortunately, I think I'm just gonna have to paint it laying on the floor here like this and try my best to get as much as I can, let it dry and flip it over and do the other side. It's not gonna be the most even probably because of that, but this is a part that goes, deep down in the engine. You can't really see it too much. The part I'm most concerned about is like this top area here. So I'm gonna do it that way. Hopefully it works out. So I am gonna be using this VHT flameproof primer first. It says in the instructions to do 2 light coats and then 1 medium coat with about 10 minutes in between each. And then after 30 minutes of the final coat drying, I'm gonna hit it with the VHT flameproof, and this is actually header paint at the bottom, you can see there, and this is a silver color, and I'm hoping this comes out like kind of a matte silver color, which I think is gonna look really nice. So let's go ahead and open the garage so I don't suffocate, and let's get started. Okay, that's gonna do it for the primer. Now it's been drying for about 30 minutes, the final coat, and that's what the can says on the back. Now we're gonna go ahead and get started with the silver paint. Since I have to do this kind of like flipping it over and doing it in 2 different parts, I realized I should have done this side first. So then when I flipped it over, it's not like sitting on the pipes like that. So I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna do this side, 3 coats with the silver paint, then flip it over so it's kind of sitting on that part and on the end of that. So I just don't want to damage any of the paint after I do it. So do this side first, then I'll flip it over and do the other side. Okay, you guys, it is the next day and here's how it looks. I am so pumped about how this thing turned out. It looks so good. It looks so much better than before. You can see I've already got the O2 sensors back on there. And there is a curing process that we have to follow to make sure that the paint is fully cured. And there's instructions on the can to do it either on the car or in an oven. Obviously, this gigantic thing will not fit in my oven, so we're gonna cure it on the car, and I'll go over how that works. Now, let's go ahead and try and get it installed without scratching it. Also, can't remember if I mentioned this, but I got some brand new gaskets for it as well. I have a new gasket for where it connects to the exhaust, but that won't be here till tomorrow. But that's not gonna stop me from at least putting it in tonight. Much easier. Damn, look at that, you guys. I wish the lighting in my garage was a little better, but they look awesome. And that titanium hardware is gonna look so cool in there too.
And here's me hand tightening all of the nuts onto the studs. It looks like I forgot to record myself torquing them down with the torque wrench, but I torqued them down to 29 foot-pounds. Okay, now what we have to do is cure the paint on the headers. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to run the car at different intervals and pause for different intervals. And all of that is listed on the can here. It also says that the paint must be cured to increase the durability, substantially increase the durability, and enhance chemical resistance. So that's going to be super important so the paint does not get messed up. We don't want to screw up all the work that we just put into doing that. So we can cure the paint either off the vehicle or on the vehicle. If you do it off the vehicle, you'd have to do it in some kind of oven. Of course, the header on this car is so big that it would not fit in my oven, not even close. So we will be curing it on the car, and they give you some detailed instructions here. Not sure if you can see it, but I'm going to read it off to you. So what we're going to do is run the car at idle for 10 minutes, then turn the car off and let it cool for 20 minutes. We're going to run the car again at idle for 20 minutes, then let it cool for another 20 minutes. And then we're going to run it under normal operating conditions for 30 minutes and let it cool. So I'm assuming that means actually driving the car around for 30 minutes. After that, it should be completely cured and good to go for a long time, and hopefully it lasts a while. So let's go ahead and get this started. To be honest with you, I'm a little nervous. I hope it doesn't just start burning off right away. We'll see what happens, and I will update you on the whole process. Definitely making a lot of smoke. I don't know what to think about that. Okay, I looked it up, and painted headers are now smoking from engine bay. Totally normal. Painted headers smoke a ton and smell really bad for a bit. Then the heat cures the paint. So, okay, we're good. Okay, it's now cooling for 20 minutes. I ran it for 10 minutes, and the smoking did stop after about 5 or 6 minutes. Stopped completely. The only thing I've noticed is it started to slightly bubble a little. That stuff on the flange you can ignore. That's actually part of the metal, but I'm trying to show you. I don't know how well you can see it. I might have to switch over to my cell phone and take a video of it. Okay, so I'll insert that clip that I just took with my phone so you can see it kind of zoomed in.
But those bubbles started to develop, or I don't even know if they're bubbles or what, but they started to develop a few minutes in, and then it stopped after a while. So it didn't start getting worse throughout the whole 10 minutes. After a few minutes, it stopped doing that, which was a relief. So we'll see what happens on the next cycle. It's gonna be 20 minutes of the car running, and then another 20 minutes of it cooling. So hopefully everything goes smoothly during that. Car is doing the 20-minute run now, and we've got about 3 minutes left. And I had a little bit of a panic because I noticed I'm out of gas. So hopefully it makes it another couple minutes, and then I'll let it sit for 20, and then we need to drive it straight to the gas station. Even though I'm supposed to drive it for 30 minutes, I'm gonna drive it to the gas station, get gas, and then I'll drive for 30 minutes after that. So far so good though. Okay, I'm now driving to the gas station. Let's hope I don't run out of gas. I'm gonna keep the RPMs as low as I can. Okay, that light came on that I've never seen before. Didn't even know it existed. Oh, and it just went off. Oh God. I'm getting nervous. I made it. Woo! $4 a gallon and a completely empty tank. Let's hope that's the most expensive fill-up I ever have in this car. Okay, now we're gonna drive it for 30 minutes at normal operating conditions, whatever that means. And then we're done. So it took me about 5 minutes to get to the gas station, and yes, it did cool down a little bit while I was filling up, but I don't think that's a big deal. So I'm gonna drive for about 25 more minutes. You know what's funny about the Supra, and I'm sure a lot of older cars too, the gas gauge takes forever to for the needle to go all the way back up. I don't know how it, maybe it's some kind of All right, drove around for a half hour and we're home now, and that's gonna about do it. The paint survived everything, just those little bumps that I was talking about before. But like I said, they never really got any worse than they did for the first couple minutes of the first cycle of 10 minutes. So I'm fine with that. If that's the worst it's gonna get, then I'm cool with it. I was pretty worried about it just completely burning off and looking like crap. So this is a win in my book. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I hope it was helpful for you. Definitely check out that VHT header paint, or maybe try some other brands too, and let me know if there's any other brands that you guys know of that you would recommend over this one. This is just what was available at my local store. So thanks again for watching. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks, bye.